Venezuela was once the richest country in Latin America, richer than Japan, richer than China, richer than South Korea. Today, its people search trash bins for food. How does a nation collapse this fast and this hard? This is the shocking story the world tried to ignore. There was a time when the name Venezuela symbolized prosperity, stability, and endless potential. A country once flooded with opportunity, its streets filled with modern cars, its cities glowing with ambition, its economy booming with the power of black gold. Millions looked at Venezuela as the shining star of Latin America, a place where dreams were not just possible, they were expected. But underneath this glittering surface, a fault line ran deep, a quiet, growing weakness that no one wanted to admit. A weakness that would one day rupture with a force strong enough to shatter an entire nation. This is not the story of a sudden collapse. It is the story of a slow-motion tragedy, a nation blessed with immense wealth that slowly, steadily, and tragically consumed itself from within. Decades ago, when vast oil reserves were discovered beneath Venezuelan soil, the nation's destiny changed forever. Oil didn't just bring money, it brought transformation. Caracas began to resemble a modern metropolis. Foreign companies poured investment into infrastructure, universities, highways, hotels, and technology. Wealth flowed so freely that the government believed it would never end. People believed it too. Why worry about agriculture? Why develop industries? Why diversify, innovate, or save for the future when oil seemed eternal? Oil became a narcotic, powerful, addictive, and blinding. The country stopped producing its own food. It imported nearly everything it consumed. The economy became entirely dependent on a single commodity. For every $100 Venezuela earned, $95 came from oil. But the people didn't see the danger. They saw comfort. They saw progress. They saw a country climbing upward. But this climb was fragile, built on a single pillar that could crumble at any moment. And it did. In the 1980s, global oil prices crashed. Overnight, national income evaporated. Government programs collapsed. Inflation rose. Poverty surged. The country had no backup industries, no diversified economy, no savings funds. Everything depended on oil, and when oil failed, Venezuela bled. In 1989, desperation exploded. Fuel prices were raised, subsidies were cut, and the streets erupted in chaos. Thousands were killed in riots and clashes known as El Caracazo. The social contract shattered. A message echoed through the country. The political elite had failed. In this chaos, a man would rise. A young, charismatic military officer named Hugo Chavez. In 1992, he led a coup attempt. The coup failed, but Chavez won something far more powerful: the hearts of the poor. He appeared on national television and took responsibility for the failure, uttering the famous words, "por ahora," for now. Those two words transformed him into a symbol of hope, rebellion, and change. To millions, he was not a criminal. He was a hero. By 1998, fed up with corruption and economic misery, the people chose him as president. They believed he would restore dignity, equality, and justice. Chavez promised a Bolivarian revolution, a new socialist era, where the poor would rise and the old elite would fall. And in the beginning, he delivered. Oil prices surged again. Billions poured into government coffers. Chavez used that money for social programs, free healthcare, free education, subsidized food, and public housing. Poverty dropped. Approval ratings rose. People loved him. But all of this was built on one temporary condition: sky-high oil prices. Instead of investing in new industries, instead of building a diversified economy, Instead of saving for the future, Chavez doubled down on oil dependency and state control. He nationalized everything: farms, factories, banks, ports, electricity, telecommunications. He tightened price controls. He fixed exchange rates. He seized private companies and placed them under government management. And under government control, productivity collapsed. Corruption infiltrated every level. Cronies replaced experts. Loyalty replaced competence. The private sector suffocated. Investors fled. Farmers stopped farming. Industries died. But as long as oil prices remained high, Chavez could hide the damage. Money kept flowing. So the illusion continued. Then came 2014. Oil prices crashed again. And this time, Venezuela had no fuel reserve, no economic diversification, no safety net. Income collapsed. Imports stopped. Factories shut down. Hospitals lost supplies. Food shortages began. And then the shortages became hunger. Under Nicolas Maduro, Chavez's chosen successor, the government clung tightly to failed policies. Instead of lifting price controls, they strengthened them. Instead of opening markets, they closed them. Instead of reducing state control, they expanded it. Instead of stopping the printing of money, they printed even more. And then hyperinflation began. Prices doubled every few weeks, then every few days, then every few hours. Money lost meaning. Salaries became worthless. Families needed stacks of bills just to buy bread. A single chicken could cost millions of bolivars. People carried backpacks of currency to buy food that wasn't even available. The currency collapsed so badly that Venezuelans used banknotes as wallpaper, crafts, or simply trash. Savings disappeared. Dreams vanished. The middle class evaporated. Hospitals ran out of medicine. Mothers waited in food lines from dawn till dusk. Children fainted from hunger in schools. Electricity blackouts lasted hours, then days, then weeks. Water systems crumbled. Disease spread. Crime flourished. Looting became common. Everyday life turned into a struggle for survival. To buy a simple bag of rice, people crossed borders into Colombia on foot. Some walked hundreds of kilometers. Others fled through mountains and rivers. More than 7 million Venezuelans abandoned their homeland, one of the largest migrations in modern history. Families split apart. Parents left children behind so they could work abroad and send back a few dollars each month. Those who stayed faced an economy in free fall. Without dollars, without industry, without confidence, the country spiraled downward. The government blamed foreign conspiracies. It blamed sanctions. It blamed enemies. It blamed everything but the internal policies that caused the collapse. Sanctions made things worse, but they were not the origin. The seeds of collapse had been planted decades earlier, in dependence, in mismanagement, in corruption, and in political arrogance. And yet, even in the darkest times, humans adapt. In recent years, parts of Venezuela began to unofficially dollarize. People started using US dollars in everyday transactions. Private businesses quietly reopened. Some markets revived. But this wasn't reform. It was survival. A patchwork fix in a deeply broken system. The country is still standing, but weakened. Still breathing, but barely. Still hoping, but uncertain. This is not just the story of Venezuela. It is a warning to every nation that puts short-term comfort above long-term stability. A warning about what happens when governments rely on a single resource, silence experts, punish private enterprise, print money without limit, and concentrate power without accountability. Venezuela did not fall because of one event. It fell because of thousands of decisions stacked over decades, each one weakening the structure until one day it could no longer stand. And so today, as Venezuelans continue to struggle, the world watches and wonders. Can a nation so broken ever be rebuilt? Can an economy so damaged ever recover? Can a society so traumatized ever heal? The truth is difficult. Recovery is possible, but only through painful reforms, transparency, diversification, economic freedom, and rebuilding trust. A new generation may one day rise to rebuild what was lost. But until then, the story of Venezuela remains one of the greatest economic tragedies of the modern era, a warning carved into history.